All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. Tonight, I'm going to be taking this old piece of acrylic that I've been playing around with, and I'm going to try to make a few pair of Clack Shack earrings out of this orange acrylic, which is something that I've never really fooled with a lot. I do have, however, some more acrylics over there, got plenty of acrylics, but I like the results of this orange acrylic that I've been playing around with the best. Also have a hardware kit for earrings. So in today's video, I'm going to try to take this old scrap piece of acrylic and end up with some earrings, a holder for said earrings, the whole 9 yards, so that I'll have a little product that, you never know, might could sell at events. I've got the open house coming up on April the 20th at May Made It. My buddy Steve is going to be coming down from Minnesota. He is going to be there as well. And I thought that'd be kind of cool if I could just make a limited run of earrings for the Clack Shack for the ladies over at May's. So if that's something you're interested in, to see how I take some test materials and end up with a product from it, stick around and we're going to get started. All right, guys, so first stop is going to be down in XCS. The one thing I've got to decide is how big do I want to make these earrings. I don't want to make them too big to where the ladies won't wear them. This is the size of the stickers that I normally hand out at events. They're not a really huge size, so I think maybe if I stick to these are 30 millimeters. So I'm thinking maybe 25 millimeters would be kind of a little smaller, but I don't know. The 30, I think, what do y'all think? 30 millimeters might be small enough. And that'll give me some detail on the engrave. So what the heck? This is an experiment. Let's start off with the 30 millimeter circle, which will be the same size as my little stickers. And I think, I don't wear earrings, but I think maybe that'll be okay. I've seen much bigger earrings out there. So we're going to start with 30 millimeter circles, and let's move over to our piece of test material and see if I can cut out a few pair out of this. So here we go. All right, so as we've determined, 30 millimeter circles it is. I'm going to start by creating myself a 30 millimeter circle, and just going to go over here and make some slight adjustments to the size, and should be good. So in order to attach the hardware to the earring, I'm also going to need a little spot to connect that. Now that doesn't have to be very big. I think I got away the other day. I made a pair out of clear acrylic. I think I got away with 2.5 millimeters for that circle. So that's what we'll try. We'll just do one, and then we'll test it with the hardware before we get too carried away. I'm going to go ahead and group those two guys together. And the reason that I'm offsetting that little place for the attachment is because I don't want it in the middle of my text. That will make these kind of hang a little sideways, but I think that's acceptable. And so for our test piece, I'm just going to try to squeeze this piece right there. Let me capture close view. And this is where the close view camera on the P2 does come in handy, because it allows you to maximize the space on your materials when you're trying to do stuff like this. I'm trying to use a piece of scrap material to make something cool. All right, so I think that looks like I'm going to miss everything where I've been playing around here. So we're going to go ahead. The material setting that I'm going to be using, this is 3 millimeter red acrylic. And I didn't see any 3 millimeter red acrylic in here earlier. Black, well, it should react basically the same in this machine, so we'll run with black settings. And I'm just going to cut this one out just to make sure that it works with the hardware before we go to cutting up all the pieces of our scrap material here. So let me go over and hit the button and get that off the machine, because it won't take but a second. Okay, that didn't work. Forgot to put it on cut. So now we gotta line this back up. Yeah, that's irritating when you forget to put it on cut. So I'm going to try to line this back up and get it exactly where I had it before. And let's try this again since we're not on score anymore. Okay, we're just going to take a moment before we move on, guys. I know a lot of people have said that this camera is not as accurate as what they thought it would be. But I want you to look at what we just did. I'm going to refresh the view. Yeah, that's very, very close. That is acceptable for me. So I got that one cut. We'll go get it off, and we'll look at it and see if the hardware is going to work with it or not. All right, so that worked out really nice. I think the hole could probably stand to be in a little further than what it is, but I think it's going to work. This is the hardware kit that I bought. It's the cheapest thing I can find on Amazon. Don't do a whole lot of making of earrings. These aren't high-dollar earrings, guys. These are being made in the shack. So it did come with all these little attachments and things, and I ain't figured out yet what that little ring's for. If you know what that little ring's for, let me know, because I ain't got a clue. It almost looks like some kind of thimble type thing, but anyway, it did come with this cool little pink handled pliers. It could have went with black or something, but whatever. And then I've got all of these, I've got like rose gold, silver. Some of these are supposed to be stainless, and so they're probably not. But they work for what I'm doing. This is more or less like some costume jewelry type thing we got going on here. And because I do prefer the look of silver, I don't know that this is actually silver. I'm going to go with the silver little ring here. And the only thing that I can figure with these is you more or less just have to bend them open and then try to bend them back together. That seems to be what was intended for this. So I just take these little pliers, bend that little guy open a little bit, and then hook it through the earring. And so yes, that will work. I could have probably went, no, I think that's about right. So that's about the right size for what we're going to be doing here. I'm not going to put the ring on there just yet. I'm going to try to lay it over here where I don't lose it. And we're going to cut some more blanks out and move on to the engraving process from there. So let's get some more blanks cut. All right, back over here in XCS. So I'm going to just delete my close view here and zoom a little bit back because, wow, I zoomed in awfully tight. So this is going to work for our cut. So I'm going to take and try to create a few more of these. See there, that'll be 1.5 sets. I don't think those are touching. No, that's close. It's very close though. So I'm just going to try to stagger me a few of those. So that'll be, I had one here, so that's 2 full sets there. We got another full room for some ones down here. I'm just going to keep stacking these things and try to make me a few here. Let's get off of that. Oh, that one's overlapping. Get away from him. There you go. All right, so just going to make a few. And I'm not going to make you guys endure watching all of these be completed. I just come up with a way that I could do it with this orange acrylic, and I thought it would be kind of cool using a couple of xTools machines. One thing I have found playing around, you can see down in the bottom where I was playing around with this this material with another diode machine. I'm not sure which one did that, but this orange acrylic that I bought, and it's only the orange, the other colors don't do this, but this was something I discovered during some of my testing, is that this orange acrylic will actually engrave white, which is pretty cool. So let's see how many I got. So I got 2 sets up there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a total of 6 sets. So I think that's a pretty good haul for this little piece of scrap material. So we'll go ahead and go over here to start. And we'll get these cut out. And once we get these cut out, guys, we'll be moving over to the engrave. All right, so a few minutes later, guys, and we got us a nice little stack of earring blanks cut from the P2 out of this old piece of tested material. Now, I think I pretty much got the good out of that, so we're pretty much done with that piece of material. And I will put links down below to where I bought these packs of material. Now, I will tell you, like I said, unless you have a P2 or CO2, cutting this stuff is not something you want to do with a diode. So this is going to kind of require that you have a diode or a CO2 to cut this. Now, if you were using black acrylic, you could do it with most any diode that I've tested here in the shop, whether it be a 5, 10, 20, 40, 70 watt, whatever. So I got my blanks now. And even though the P2 does a really good job of cutting acrylic, when it comes to engraving acrylic, I don't like the results you get because it more or less etches away the acrylic, but there's no contrast between what's engraved and what's not. You can't really see it. With this particular material, though, I have found that with the right settings on a diode laser, you can get a white text. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to set up the F1 to engrave these things so that I can do it with it on the diode setting. And this thing's really fast and I can batch those things out really quick. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so before we move forward, because I'm doing so many of these things, instead of trying to get in here and just set these things up and line them up every time, I'm going to make myself a little jig real quick with the P2 using the file that I just used to cut out the blanks. And when you're making stuff like this and you're doing a lot of them, I definitely recommend using a jig of some type. So let's get back down into XCS for a second before we power off the P2. Let's knock out this jig. All right, so I've taken the material that we had in there out and I've added myself a spare little piece of acrylic, or not acrylic, a spare little piece of wood that I had left over. And I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to get rid of them. I'm just going to keep this one. All right, so what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to take that one. All right, and I want to do 4 at a time of these earrings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set me an array, and I'm going to do a grid array. I'm going to tell it to do 2 and 2 with, give me 3 millimeters, 5 millimeter space in between each. That'll give me plenty of room to get around those guys. All right, so the first thing I want to do is, because I'm going to be using this with that little leg that comes with the F1, the little angle bracket. I've got my little angle bracket set up in the back left. So knowing the size of this, I know that when I stick this up in that little L bracket that sits here, this is going to be closer to the middle of the workspace. So that's kind of how I'm going to lay this out. Now, in order to get these little guys in and out, you're going to have to place them and rotate them. But this jig is not going to be fixed, so I'm just going to pull it out every time. You can add some little holes in here to lift these things up if you're not going to be moving. If you're going to be mounting the jig or taping it to the machine, I'm going to be using the little L bracket and taking this in and out. So that's not a concern. I'll just dump them out, put it back, and back and forth. You get the idea. So this material is 4.7 millimeters thick. There we go. It says 4.5, but I run 4.7 in the CO2 just in case, because that thing does get kind of close. And sometimes the material is a little thicker than others. So I've got those set to a cut, the 4.5 millimeter P2. Yes, I could take those little circles out, but to be honest, it's only going to take a second for them to rip them out of the center of that, so I'm not concerning myself with it. I should have done that before I did the grouping. So let's knock that out right quick. Okay, so before I take those guys out of there, the one thing that I didn't do beforehand that I want to do is I want to kind of give myself a little indicator of where the little circle is going to be pointed so that I can get them consistent. So I'm just going to take my little arrows keys here and I'm going to move all of these. I said I was. I'm going to move all of these. Okay, so it's moving them way less than a millimeter. I want to move them over and up a little bit, just so it's consistent. As long as I move them as a group, it will be consistent. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to a score, and I'm just going to mark it real quick, just to show me, where the little circles need to be pointed, so that everybody is pointed in the same direction, and my OCD doesn't mess with me. But yeah, just one last thing. All right, so a few seconds later, I got my little jig, and as you can see, I've got the little holes marked so that I can orient these to where the hole points that way, and I know they'll be consistent throughout all of them. So now I'm going to be moving over to the F1. I'm going to set one of these things up in the jig, or actually I'm going to be setting 4 of them up in the jig, and we'll get to the next step. So, all right, so pasted this over into the workspace for the F1, and I'm going to take now and try to align this using the framing, and just make sure I've got it where I need to have it. All right, so let me change it to outline, and I'm going to select those guys. Looks like everything's framed up properly. So we're going to go ahead and process this first batch, and we'll see how they turn out. All right, guys, so I did both sides of the earring using the little jig there. And like I said, this is a very simple jig, guys, but with using the outline frame on the F1, I've managed to get it exactly where I wanted the engrave. The little white engraving goes all the way to the edge of the earring, and they look cool. So the next step, guys, is going to be to put these little rings on here with the hardware. So I'm going to be playing around with that. Now this is real tiny, so I'm not going to be able to show you much of what I'm doing on this, other than to let you know that I'm dropping them. So when you buy these, buy plenty if you got big clumsy fingers. But the one thing that I don't have, so I got that part on there. I'm just going to hold it with these pliers because that's the only way I can hold it. So you folks that do this a lot, hats off to you, because this is a little tedious. All right, so I got the hook on there, and now I'm just going to try to squeeze this back together best I can without making it not round. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. So there you go. There's a Clack Shack earring. So if you ever asked yourself, where could you get a Clack Shack earring? There it is, guys. All right, let's see. I don't have holes in my ear, so I'm just going to hook it on my ear. Whew, that's weird. Okay, how about that? Oop, dropped it. So I'll have to get somebody who has holes in their ears, because I really don't want to put one in mine. And they're not wanting to hang. But you get the there you go. You get the idea, right? You figure it out. Is that I know somewhere Steve's going to be screenshotting this right now. I'll save you the trouble, Steve. I'll probably make this the thumbnail, just to save you the trouble. I'll try to get dangly earring. Yeah. All right. There's my thumbnail right there. Save Steve the trouble. All right, so I've got a few more of these to do, but one thing that I want to get started, guys, while I'm doing this, I like to try to maximize my workflow so that if I'm doing something hands-on, I've got the little robots working on other stuff. So the one thing that I didn't think about is how am I going to display these? I can't just like throw them out there. So I'm going to need a little card to display. And I got my friend Sheena over at Grit and Grace. She makes earrings a lot, and I've been through her booth multiple times. And she uses usually like a little piece of really heavy cardstock. Don't have a whole lot of cardstock around here, but what I do have, guys, is some 4.5 millimeter Luan. So I'm going to try to make myself a little earring holder out of some Luan right quick. So I'm going to drop over into XCS and see how that works out. Yeah. A few minutes later, and I have me a little holder. Now, I would love to have the rounded corners. I think I'm going to update my XCS software and see if that's a function, or maybe I overlooked it somewhere. I'm not a big user of XCS for creating files. Like I said, normally I create those in Lightburn and send them over. But maybe the new version will have it. But there you go, guys. It's some Clack Shack swag. So maybe I'll get around, hopefully this week. It's getting kind of late out here tonight. But maybe I'll get around to doing the rest of them. I've got several more blanks. And if I can find some more of the orange acrylic laying around here that I used, I might try to make a few more copies of these things. But yeah, so it works. I'm going to try to get Brandy to try these on, since maybe she can actually wear them, since I can't. And yeah, there you go. Simple little project idea, especially for you ladies out there. This might be something you want to do. I could probably do a little more dressing up to my display, but for the sake of time, shortening the length of the video, I went with simple. So there you go, guys. But anyway, I'll drop links down below if you're interested in either the P2 or the F1, as well as this little hardware kit. But guys, I'm telling you, this is the cheapest hardware kit I could find. I just wanted something to be able to say I made earrings, and Brandy said that yes, that looks like it would work, but I'm not sure if this is the best supplies. You ladies that maybe have made earrings might have a better recommendation, and if you do, feel free to drop those down below and I'll check it out, because this stuff is tiny, and these aren't anything special, but they work. But all in all, guys, decent project, and until next time, be safe and have a good day.